Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. It's Vivian here and I hope you all are doing well. So in this video I'm going to be showing you how to draft this dress pattern right here, and also I'm going to be showing you how to avoid the zipper bulge, and also going to be showing you how I make this cute strap design right here. Let me just turn around. So it's a double strap at the back, and I just make this design using the pattern paper. So I'm going to be showing you how to draft it on the pattern paper. In the next video I'm going to be showing you how to sew all the pieces together. So this video will be the pattern making. And also, if you're new and if you're coming from my other channel, welcome. So we're also going to be having fun here. All right, so with that said, let's go straight into the video. Okay, so to start, you want to take your pattern paper and fold it over like this. And you want to make sure it's laying flat, okay? So next, you want to take your ruler and drawing a line at the top. So that will be the shoulder line. So next, you want to take your measuring tape and place it at the shoulder line. So you want to measure from the shoulder line down to your bust line, which is the fullest part of your bust. So you want to go ahead and mark that point. Okay, so from your bust line, you want to go ahead and measure down to your waistline, which is the smallest part of your waist. All right, so from the waistline, you want to go ahead and measure from your waistline to your hip line, which is the fullest part of your hip. Okay, so from the hip line, you want to measure from there down to the full length of the dress. So if you're measuring it down to your knee or below the knee, you want to go ahead and place a mark right there. So after you're done, you want to take your ruler and draw in the line to make sure it's very bold and clear. You can walk with it. Okay, so now I'm just going ahead to draw in those lines. Okay, so next right now I'm going ahead to mark 1.5 inch for the chest line. Okay, so moving on to the next step, I'm placing my measuring tape down at the center of the pattern. So next I'm going ahead to mark 7 inch for the shoulder length. So next you want to take your bust circumference divided by 4 and go ahead and mark it down. Just like that. So it's the same thing. You want to take your waist circumference divided by 4 and go ahead and mark it down. Moving on to the hip, you want to do the same thing. Take your hip circumference divided by 4 and go ahead and mark it down. Okay, so for the bottom of the dress, you want to take whatever you measure, the circumference, you want to also divide it by 4 and go ahead and mark it down. Okay, so I forgot to add the 1 inch dot allowance to the waistline. So right now I'm going to go ahead and do that. So taking my measuring tape and placing it down and added the 1 inch dot allowance. So whatever you measure for your waist, you want to divide that by 4. So after dividing it by 4, you want whatever you get. So you want to add 1 inch to that for the dot allowance. So mine was 28 inches divided by 4. That gives me 7 plus 1 inch for the dot allowance. That gives me a total of 8 inch. Okay, so once that is done, you want to go ahead and connect the line from the bust line to the waistline, from the waistline to your hip line, from your hip line down to the bottom of the dress. Okay, so to create the waist dot, you want to take your nipple to nipple measurement. So you want to take that measurement and add 1 inch to it. So the 1 inch you're adding to it is the one you added for the waistline. So you want to take that and divide that by 2 and go ahead and mark that on the pattern paper. So after marking that point, you want to take your measuring tape, place it in the center of that mark or that point, and mark half an inch on both sides, so that will give you the 1 inch you added for the waist dot. Okay, so moving on to the next step, I'm placing my measuring tape at the center front of the pattern paper, and I'm going ahead to mark 3 inch for the neck width and 3 inch down for the neck depth. Okay, so to create the armhole, I'm taking my measuring tape, placing it down at the center front, and I'm marking out 7 inch. So I'm taking my ruler and I'm going to connect that line to the shoulder line. Okay, so next I'm taking my measuring tape and placing that on the shoulder line. So next I'm going to go ahead and mark 1 inch down to create the shoulder slope. Okay, so once you mark the point for the shoulder slope, you want to take your ruler and connect that to the neckline. Okay, so to find the middle point, you want to take your measuring tape, place it down, and divide your armhole depth into 2 and go ahead and mark that. So that will be the middle point of the armhole, okay? So once you have that, from that point, you want to go ahead and measure half an inch inward, just like that. Okay, so once that is done, you want to take your ruler and connect all 3 points. So this is for the front, okay? So to create the back armhole curve, you're only going to be connecting it from the side to the middle point. So that will create the back armhole curve. Okay, so to create the waist dot, I'm measuring half an inch down from my bust line right there, just placing a mark, and from the waistline, and I'm measuring 6.5 inch down from the waistline. And I'm just going to go ahead and mark that. So once you're done marking all the points, the next step is to connect everything together. Okay, so once that is done, you want to go ahead and cut out the pattern, and also you want to make sure to cut it out following the back armhole curve. Okay. Okay, so once all that is done, you want to go ahead and flip it over just like this, and go ahead and trace in the line. You want to go ahead and trace in the waist, the hip line, the waistline, the bust line, the chest line. Okay, go ahead and do that. And also don't forget you have to trace the dot line also on the back pattern. Okay, so once that is done, you want to go ahead and cut it open. So you have two pieces, one for the back and one for the front. Okay, so we're going to be working with the front pattern first. So for me, I place my measuring tape at the waistline and marking 9 inch upward. So this part is depend on you, depend on how low you want to go or how high you want the top part of the dress to be. So for me, I just measure from the waistline upward I mark 9 inch. So right now I'm going ahead to make a line right there. Okay, so to create the sweetheart shape on the front of the dress, I'm taking my measuring tape and placing it at the center front of the pattern, and I'm marking half an inch down. So this part is also up to you depending on how low or how high you want it to be. So once you make a decision on that, you want to go ahead and connect the line to the middle point. And to get the middle point, again, you want to take your nipple to nipple measurement, divide that by 2, and mark it down. Okay, so once you have that, go ahead and connect the line just as I'm doing in this video. So next, you want to go ahead and connect the side line to the middle point as well. Okay, so if you want a side dot for your dress, what you want to do, you want to take your measuring tape and measure 1 inch from your bust line. Okay, so from there you can place your side dots. Okay, so but for me, I won't be using side dot for this dress, so I'm going to be moving it to the middle part of the bust. So I'm going to show you in the next clip. Like I said, I won't be using the side dot for this dress, so I'm moving the dot to the middle part of the bust. So to get that, I'm placing my measuring tape at the middle of the line I created, and I'm marking 1/2 inch on both sides, so that gives me 1 inch for the dot. So once that is marked, I'm going to go ahead and connect the line. Sorry guys, so my camera died while I was doing some minor changes, not a bit too big. So what I've done, I took out 1/2 inch from the side of the pattern. As you can see right here, just measuring it so that way you guys can see it. So, and also I cut the pattern paper halfway through. So this will allow me to pinch the 1 inch dot allowance together so that way I can pin it in place in order to create the strap. Okay, so right there. So right now I'm going ahead to pinch together the 1 inch dot allowance I added for the bust dot. And now I'm just going to take my pin and pin that in place. Okay, so now that that is done, I'm going back to tape the top part of the pattern back in place. So that way I can go ahead and create the design for the strap. Okay, so next I'm taking my ruler and I'm going to go ahead and draw in a line. So this line is just to help to indicate where I'm going to be adding the strap. And what I've done, I mark 1 inch away from the neckline and I just draw in a line. And for the space, I want 1 inch space between the strap. So you can, if you want it a bit closer, that's depend on you, or if you want it a bit farther away, that's depend on you. But for me, I'm making it a 1 inch space between the both strap. So next, I'm just going ahead to draw in the line on both sides. Again, I'm going to take my ruler and just draw in some line, just like a layout of the strap or the design. Okay, so now that I have the pattern for the strap layout, I'm just going to take the scissors and cut off the rest of the side that I don't need. Okay, so now we're going to work on the back piece, and doing the same thing, I'm taking my measuring tape and I'm removing half an inch from the side. So as I did on the front, so I'm doing the same thing on the back, so removing half an inch from the side. Okay, so for the center back, I'm going to be removing 1 inch. Again, this part is also depend on you on how low you want the center back to be or how high you want the center back to be. So for me, I'm measuring 1 inch down from the bust line. So for on the center back. Okay, so now I'm gonna connect that line to the side, just like that. Okay, so moving on to the next step, you want to take your measuring tape and place it at the center back waistline, and you want to go ahead and measure half an inch inward. Okay, so once you have that marked out, you want to go ahead and connect that line to the top and also to the hip line. So by doing this, this will help to get rid of the bulkiness on the zipper. So this will help the zipper to lay flat on the back. Okay. Okay, so next I'm taking the front piece I cut out for the strap and I'm gonna go ahead and tape it to the back and just taking that tape and tape it down. So next I'm gonna go ahead and measure out the back strap. So I forgot to add the zipper seam allowance to the back. So right now I'm going ahead to tape the back piece in place. So next I'm going to take my measuring tape and add the 1 inch seam allowance from the top down to the bottom of the back piece. Okay, so I have all the pieces laid out. So remember the skirt part for the front have to be cut on fold, and the middle part of the front also have to be cut on fold. On this side, you have to cut two pieces for both sides. For the back, you need two pieces for the skirt part, and for the top part, you need two pieces for the center back and two pieces for the side. Okay. And also when cutting out your patterns on the fabric, you want to make sure to add the seam allowance to the fabric if you didn't add it to the pattern paper. So you want to go ahead to add the seam allowance while cutting out your paper. You can add half an inch seam allowance all the way around. As you can see right here, I already have my patterns all cut out. As you can see, I added half an inch seam allowance all the way around. So you want to make sure to add your seam allowance when cutting out the pattern. Okay, so on the next video, I'm going to show you how to put all the pieces together, and also I'll put the link in the description box down below once that video is available. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and also please do not forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you find it helpful. If you're new to my channel, please do not forget to hit the subscribe button down below. If you already subscribed, thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for popping by today, and I'll see you all in my next one.